Welcome to the Human Element in AI. This is the show that explores the fascinating and sometimes challenging intersection of artificial intelligence and the world of work. We dive into how AI is reshaping our jobs, the critical importance of change management, and how we can all thrive amidst this digital transformation. Join us as we explore concepts like job crafting, the ethics of automation, and how personalized learning can empower us in the age of AI. Get ready to understand the shifts, adapt your skills, and level up your professional journey. Let's turn data into dollars. Welcome back, everybody. In the previous episode, we were talking about Gemini, the conversation about change management, how AI is going to help AI be a part of that adoption. Gemini wasn't tremendously helpful, at least not the way that I wanted. We left off, I set up a GPT prompt, did a little bit of digging, found job crafting that was studied by Jane and Amy, 2001, was the original work on it. What did Amy and Jane talk about? Finding fulfillment in job, employees crafting their own job. That's just the surface. My thought, my idea, I guess my hypothesis going into this was, if AI is going to take the jobs, AI can tell us what jobs can the people that will be displaced, what are they going to be best at? You just take into account, and the way and this omits a lot of ethical consideration here, but the way I see it from a high level is, if the job gets crafted and designed by a computer that is designed to optimize things, and we talked about in the last video how AI becomes predictive, how it becomes better at finding the desired outcome. It goes from input to outcome. It gets better and better and better at doing that. That's machine learning in a nutshell. If we do that with the job, we say, hey, this is the result that we want. We want a job that is more fulfilling for folks that are going to be displaced by AI. Then, in theory, it should just spit out jobs that'll be optimized and supportive of AI to further optimize the whole system. To be honest, the whole talk about optimization gets tiring because it's faster and faster and faster and faster, and then I'm ready to take a nap. But here we are, going forward, never ending. When AI designs these jobs, you can feed it more information. So machine learning, that was in a nutshell, is it learns, it gets better and better because it gets continued to feed more and more information. If we feed the information that have been studied in studies like job crafting, what makes people happy? If you back into it, what is it that makes people happy? Because people are not going to be happy when they lose their job to a machine. And there's a couple categories there. We lost a lot of jobs when we stopped horse and carriage and computers. We evolve and we adapt, and it gets faster and faster. And we're just at the frontier. That's just where we're at. It's exciting and it's scary. And in the previous episode, we talked about change management, and that's what we do at Level Up, is this change management, digital transformation, adaptive in the culture. It starts with the values. It starts with the leadership. Then when you can input, we have studies. That's where I started with the Jane, and where I left off is I uploaded the study from Jane and Amy where they discussed these things, and I set the parameters so we didn't go in every which way. And I'll set it before, I'll say it again, it's best to define your parameters so whatever model you're working with doesn't just go into who knows where. They'll go wherever. And maybe that's what Gemini did. It didn't give me what I wanted because I didn't set it up right. It was just a conversation. Now I uploaded the work and I outlined what I just said here. And NGPD does an analysis of, maybe I should have put analyze and formulate a summary. But AI is undeniably transformative. No longer a theoretical innovation, it's practical disruptor across industries. From predictive analytics, machine automation, and process automation, content creation and customer service. And I think broadly, we understand that I work with virtual assistants that have the capacity to be tenfold what they have previously been because of LLMs. Now, in artificial technology, for the sake of this conversation, I'm just going to refer to artificial AI as generative AI. LLMs are also, I'm just going to refer to it as the same thing here. Now, it goes on to cite, because I asked it to cite because I was missing some things, because I said most, and this is just from going to seminars and networking events, hearing people's feedback. But that's just me on my world over here in Denver, not necessarily the whatever leading edge of technology. It's just some guy hanging out that just spends a lot of time on AI things. But there seems to be an echo that most don't know how it's going to change the business landscape. I don't know what quantifies that. Just put that in there, and so I asked it to cite it. It cited McKinsey, PwC, and Deloitte. It's a knowledge gap. Executives agree AI is critical. No clear roadmap for integration. This is the jam right there. I mean, that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, how do we do it? Like, we got to figure it out. I think there's a lot of ways to go about it, and a change management structure that puts the human first, puts the person as people powered, will continue to be vision oriented, to be value based, will be what it takes to be successful, or it'll be what the successful organizations do. And if the people break down, the system breaks down. Because AI can't just replace the whole thing. It can replace a lot of things, but the machine still needs people to run the machine. And the other things that the machine can't do. Then it also, I asked to cite more simplified expectations about job evolution. Because it seems to say that, okay, these repetitive tasks will be transitioned to higher order thinking, collaboration, and creativity. Now, not everybody's going to want to do that. Ignores individual differences in adaptability. It doesn't take into account that if Jimmy is not interested in thinking real critically, Jimmy just wants a job, but Jimmy is just as important as Larry and Sally and everybody. Everybody's important. Everybody has to be considered. What's the greatest good for the greatest number of people, and how do we move forward? And it's what's good for the greatest number of people. But when it comes to something so, you can't omit people. Like, people can't be omitted. Greatest good for the greatest number of people is fantastic. But people can't be omitted from consideration. And then it touches on a few things, and then it says most likely areas to be impacted: predictive maintenance, robotic automation, manufacturing, logistics. But there's a huge push, not a political conversation right now, but whatever goes down with the tariffs, there's an evolution that continues to happen, largely, structured behind artificial intelligence and how we're going to improve systems and designs that improve supply chains. Because people are still buying things. I don't know if you've been on the highway, the nearest interstate, there's still big trucks drinking diesel, driving your crap from A to B, and they will, and as long as we keep buying things. And here's the deal. It's important to keep buying things. It's good economic practice to spend. That stimulates the economic engine. Then it touches, and this is largely from its this is not, I take the rest of it with a grain of salt. A buy that has Deloitte, I bet that says that. I believe this says that. I believe McKinsey says we're leaders not fully to grasp AI and how they reshape business models. Then here to that same point, I was talking to an education institution asking about their data science opportunities, programs, rather than being told, okay, here's our data science, we're learning Python, the frontier of this practice is PyTorch, or the bleeding edge. They circled back around and said, we don't teach that anymore. We're teaching Power BI. We dialed that back. People don't need to know Python. You can just punch in Python to GPT, and it's going to give you the answer. I beg to differ in my hours of debugging, would also beg to differ that you can't just punch into GPT and get anything you want out of it. Granted, there's no way I could do the things that I can do without it. It empowers the user to be more productive, particularly in coding. Just, hey, code this. And the only reason I learned it, I went through this whole data science course and certification through Data Camp, learned me some Python, and that was very helpful because now I can look at the code. I'm like, oh, okay, that goes there. This is a loop, and this is a wood and in and for. So there's these elements that you look for and you pick out when you code, but you still got to put it into the on a Mac you put it into Terminal, or you put it into your VS Code or the Jupyter notebooks. It's not a plug and play thing. And we'll talk about it another day, but another I think fantastic thing is like GPT is $20 a month, right? The paid GPT version. Or you can get GPT insights, thoughts, analysis, even a chatbot. Like I made a chatbot today that was Claude that rather than pay for the full thing, it's from Anthropic, their API key, plug it in there. It has their same technology, but it's just it's not so user friendly. But you can ask it, hey, make me a UI for it, a user interface, but it's still not. Same unit interface, the same technology, right? The same thinking, the same analysis, the same a lot of things, but it was 13 cents. And I sent a lot of messages and had a lot of tokens. Same thing with OpenAI. I have an OpenAI key, do the same thing, but I prefer this interface. I like this interface because I can have a conversation about this interface. This is the interface that people most likely to learn. OpenAI is ubiquitous for the face of AI. Being able to speak to the interface is a necessity, especially when you want to talk to people that want to learn. And I think that's the thing, is I think everybody wants to learn. It's just a lot to learn. I aim to do that with some of the videos here on the channel, that it's a lot, sure. And I know for most of last year, the seminars and conferences I attended, the prevailing position on artificial technology is it's not going to change our jobs, but it's really helping us write better emails. And I thought that was a shortcoming in terms of representing what the artificial technology can do. Now, GPT talking itself up says it can do alleviate, optimize, improve the threat displacement. This is like what I wanted to go. Not to replace, but to elevate. That's good. So, augmentation over automation. Okay, so I like that. AI can assist workers, decision support tools for healthcare providers rather than replace them. It can assist workers, decision support tools for healthcare providers rather than replace them. And I think that we're certainly not there yet. I was doing market research deal, and you got to question what it does, because it gave me a figure. It said the comparable, the Colorado has a 39% positive wage against revenue growth versus the United States has a negative 39% in that same category. And I figured it's a little funny that they're about 39% and it's pretty significant in terms of difference. Hey buddy, you want to recheck that for me? And it did. It said it wasn't right, which made me reconsider all of the information that it gave me. Like on the second round, it said, yeah, okay, I double checked everything, everything's good. Well, I thought you checked it the first time. So that's perfect. Like what? And that's the thing, is like you run Python in data analytics. There's no thinking. There's no interpretation. There's no extrapolation. People talk about using GPT for their resumes, and they don't like it because it adds a bunch of fictitious things in there. Yeah, it does, and we know that. So just don't submit that resume. Like if you didn't do those things, don't say you did them. Just because you said you did them. But it works as a fantastic thesaurus, and that's what, like, I'll show you right here after we wrap up on this summary. I'll take this right here, which is fantastic. So fantastic. I'm going to copy and paste this for my next part. And apply job crafting to AI resistance. So equal in opportunity. Workers with learning disabilities or those returning to work can benefit from assistive AI technologies. I will claim ignorance on this. I have no idea. I don't know what that means. I don't know what technologies they are. I'm not about to say yes, that's a real thing, because I don't know. But hopefully it can empower and position us to do things that we were previously unable to do. Personalized training, AI-enabled learning platforms can adapt to individual skill gaps, allowing just-in-time reskilling. I love that. That's my favorite one, actually. This would be the pillar of, I'm going to write a book on this, because I think this is that's the most powerful tool that's going to be available. So part of my Python learning process is I learn well in certain types of flashcards. There's flashcards that are helpful, and then there's flashcards that are not helpful. When I have a flashcard and it was the way that the code is put in. Where's the hyphen? Because you can't get anything wrong when you're coding. Not a single character can be out of place. It's got to be perfect. And I'm more of a 70% of the way there, and we got to hit go. But Python's 100% of the way there. So learning the syntax, which is where the characters fit into the structure of the code, was challenging. So I had flashcards that asked me very specific questions about syntax. Then I could go through them, and I said, okay, build me this code for these flashcards, and then it built it in Terminal, which on Mac, Then I said, hey, can you make me a user interface for this? And then it builds it in Streamlight, and then I did it in a browser, but it's these flashcards, and then you hook up your OpenAI key to it, which is the API key that implements the logic that GPT has. And I asked it to, okay, in this code, then you go back and you look at the code, you look at the instructions, you look at the ask, and you validate these things and say it needs to grow, and the answers that I get right, let's build in that, let's expand when I've gotten a few right in a row. Give me different examples rather than static flashcards. Give me different examples, the same concepts, but different examples, so that I don't need it to be the same thing. Then if I'm getting a bunch right, then let's expand what we're doing. So to be adaptive. That's how I learned a lot about Python, is this program that it and I built. And that's one thing that I guess I'll lean into, is that it's pretty good at coding. Or maybe it's just I'm really bad at coding, whatever it may be, but it knows syntax like I don't. I never will. So this personalized training, I think, is a huge thing, and I will follow up on that. Applying job crafting to AI resistance. Seminal 2001 article. I was gonna say seminal, didn't know if it was the right word. Here we are, back to the thesaurus. That's what GPT is fantastic at, and it did give me, said seminal. Introduce job crafting. Employees proactively shape their job roles. So I don't know, so I guess Amy and Jane asked that employees proactively shape their job roles. Did I upload it? I did not upload it. So this is before, like after this, I'd run through this same thing, and I would ask, please revise this analysis with consideration of the attached document. And inherently analyze means to extrapolate, interpret, and I will include the seminal work with the actual document, whether it had access to that information before or not, I don't know. And then being the ultimate thesaurus, I'll wrap it up. That's all we have time for today in this episode. But just to find a closing point, this is the basis for extended research, and I think this is a big part of how we can pitch the adaptation of artificial intelligence. It's because it's to help us learn in a way that we learn. And how did I identify that that's how I learned well, is I asked it, I uploaded some psychology learning practices that were studied out of the 50s, and I put them in there, and whatever I could find on Clifton Strengths Finder, I couldn't find like the original documentation to upload to it, but integrate that into the model. Then I modeled an assessment, and I assessed me with multiple choice questions, because sometimes short answers are tricky to just come up with on the spot when you're talking to a computer. But multiple choice questions, answered the questions, it extracted leaderships, values, then job design, learning design. What did I say? That was my favorite takeaway. Personalized training. AI-enabled learning platforms that can adapt to individual skill gaps, allowing just-in-time skilling. Bonus points if you know where that just-in-time comes from. Just-in-time delivery, just-in-time, it's a Six Sigma thing. I'll just give you the answer. But if you got it on your own, drop it in the comments, let me know, because if you're on point, bridging the gap. Okay, and then provide summary of this chat and include keyword or continue research through I like databases, they're actual numbers. And to wrap it up, let's see what it gives us. Summary of discussion. There we go. So and then I just take these keywords and explore that starting point, because I want to correlate it. Like I said, level up, we aim to make this transition between, obviously you can't see what I'm drawing here, but it's a transition. It's a digital transformation. It's an accelerator of your business. The AI is alive. There's good ways to do it. There's bad ways to do it. Check out some of my other videos where I will show you what good and what better looks like, so you can get the most out of the machine. That's something that, like, we're in it to win it. At least you should be. And if you are in it to win it, we're on the same squad. Let's get after it. Let's turn data into dollars. Let's go. My name is Bo, Level Up Limited. See you next time.
That's it for this episode of The Human Element in AI. We appreciate you joining us as we navigate the complexities and opportunities presented by AI in the workplace. Our goal is to provide you with insights and perspectives on adapting to change, optimizing your role, and embracing the future of work with confidence. Remember, the human element remains crucial in this evolving landscape. If you found this conversation valuable, you can also visit our website, lifehaslevels.com. We're in this together, building the future of work. My name is Bo, and this is the human element of AI. See you next time.